Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And on Sunday, fresh from a victory in the San Siro in midweek, Graham Potter takes his unbeaten Chelsea side to Aston Villa to take on Steven Gerrard's side in a tricky away clash, to be honest. Aston Villa aren't in the best form, but Villa Park's a tough place to go. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Chelsea under Potter, unbeaten in his 5 games in charge, 4 wins on the spin now, including a 5-0 win against AC Milan over both legs, 2 wins in the Premier League. Things are gathering momentum, but yeah, it's not been a good day today for Chelsea on the injury front. We've had confirmed that Reece James out for 6 to 8 weeks potentially. N'Golo Kante is going to be out for 3 months, and then not so long ago coming out that Mason Mount is going for a scan on a thigh problem, but he's still expected to be fit for the weekend. But we've heard that before. Reece James was meant to be only missing a few games, and now suddenly it looks like it's 6 to 8 weeks. So on the injury front, it's really not been a good day today. It's injuries to key players that we don't really have the cover for, particularly in this packed schedule. So let's get straight into it, guys in the chat. Big up. Yep, would be pleased to get. Yeah, I mean, it would be pleasing. Let's see what happens. Obviously, on that front, but the main news is the injury news. Let's get straight into it with Reece James. Then, obviously, we saw him go off in the Milan game injured. The first thing that was annoying was the fact that he tried to carry on, or he carried on for a little bit, and it wasn't working out. I think that players are always going to want to carry on. So the first thing is, I think medical staff have got to take the decisions out of the players' hands and say, look, just come off. The game at 2-0 was done. It was down to 10. We should have just subbed him off instantly. I know it's easy to say that in the aftermath of the event, but he should have come off. He should have come off. And then the second thing was, it's initial early signs are that it's not too bad, and he could be back for Man United next weekend. And then you see him, he's wandering around Milan. He's then getting on an EasyJet flight with obviously no legroom or anything like that. Not as comfortable as obviously flying with Chelsea would be. I'm not sure what the reasonings were for him to be flying back EasyJet. Maybe he stayed in Milan a bit longer to get an initial scan or something like that. I'm not too sure, but there's obviously a reason for that. That's not great. And then obviously goes for further scans, and it looks like he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. His participation at the World Cup's in doubt. From an England perspective, that's not great at all. But I'm more concerned for me about Chelsea. Obviously, multiple outlets reporting today, reliable sources, obviously Adam Newson saying that Reece James' injury is worse than feared after scans yesterday. Possibility he will miss the World Cup. Decision on surgery expected in the next 24 hours. Graham Potter was asked about this in the press conference this afternoon, and he basically didn't really have anything to add. He's saying that Reece James will be seeing a specialist this weekend, and then obviously there'll be further comments in due course. But I don't really understand this. I'm not sure how kind of it's been widely reported by a lot of sources that this is what's happening, and yet Potter's saying that Reece James has still got to go see a specialist this weekend, and we don't know what the full outcome is yet. So I don't understand. So someone's either lying, or someone's just, or Potter's just not revealing the full extent until he's been to the specialist. I'm not really sure, because we've heard nothing from the club. But it's clear that Reece James is going to be missing for up until the World Cup as an absolute minimum. It looks like for England, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but that's a separate conversation. But the fact of the matter is, the fixture schedule is so packed. There's 9 games still for Chelsea between now and the World Cup. We've got no real backup in this position, and it's yes, we've had 2 great games against AC Milan, but. And we've won 5-0 over the 2 games. But at what cost does that come? We lost Fofana in the first match, and we've lost Reece James in this second match. Potter also confirming that Fofana is not going to be back before the World Cup, so he's going to miss the next 9 games as well. It looks like Reece James is going to be out for the next 9 games, and N'Golo Kante is out for the next 3 months. Like these are injuries in key positions, and the Reece James one for me is the worst possible one for us, because he's our most important player. No one does what he does in the team, and there's no backup. Ruben can do a bit of a job there, but I wouldn't want to. As good as Ruben's been this season, and he really is massively stepped on. He's looked fantastic in midfield in the last few games. The next problem is to fill in at right back, unless you want Azpilicueta playing right wing back, which, despite he was good against Wolves, in fairness to him, he put in a performance, but you don't want that for the next 9 games, and it won't be possible. I mean, I don't see how we can can sort of get by with sort of rotating Ruben and Azpilicueta in that right wing back role. And we're already struggling in midfield with N'Golo Kante injured, as I said, which I'll get onto a bit later. And you take a body out of there and Ruben to play him right wing back. You're literally left with Kovacic and Jorginho, and Kovacic is not got the best track record. And then you're looking at the likes of maybe Chukwuemeka, but he's a little bit better, probably further up the pitch. You're looking at, Gallagher. We saw him playing a pivot under Tuchel. That's not really happening. So it does cause issues. But this is exactly what happened last season. We started playing. As soon as we start playing well, our best player gets injured. And as Hakeem's saying in the chat, we are cursed when we seem to play Italian teams. Ben Chilwell ACL against Juve last season, Fofana against Milan, and now Reece James against Milan. And the Reece James one, as I said, is so annoying because it's the one position on the pitch that you just don't want to pick up an injury. Anywhere else, and we can kind of get by, but here we can't get by. And now, having signed Aspie on a 2-year contract extension, it looks like we're going to have to use him. And in the greatest respect possible to him, a lot of Chelsea fans, we don't want to see him on the pitch that often anymore because he quite simply is past it. Yes, he can put in the odd performance here and there, but you can't play Aspie week in, week out for the next 9 games. Games every 3 days. It's just not gonna. It's just not gonna happen. So yeah, this is a big problem, and I think Ruben probably will fill in there. There are options. We stick with a 3. You'd expect it to be Chalobah, Thiago Silva, Koulibaly. Cucurella can obviously fill in a less centre back if needed. Right wing back is going to be obviously between Aspie and Ruben. And then obviously on that left side, Chile and Cucurella. But yeah, there are a couple of options. But yeah, it really isn't ideal. And it is the worst possible scenario for Chelsea and for Graham Potter as well. I don't know if it's too early to say that, there's maybe a conversation to be had about, is Reece James actually injury prone? We saw last season he picked up a reasonably long-term injury. He was rushed back because he's so important to us, and then he picked up another injury a few games later, and now this has occurred. I'm not saying he's an injury-prone player, but this is now 2 seasons on the spin where he's faced sort of a lengthy period of time out on the sidelines. I think that the big plus for Chelsea is the fact that there's a Winter World Cup, so there's no there's a month or so off at sort of at the end of November, which is a plus. So if he doesn't go to the World Cup, he's got plenty of time to rehab and do some training and stuff, and maybe be fit for afterwards. So that I would say is the only plus to this situation, because yeah, it is an absolute worst case scenario for Chelsea, and I'm not too sure what we're going to do and how we're going to cope. It's going to be interesting to see, but he's a big blow. He's the best right wing back in the world. He's our best player. He's our most influential player. And I think we are going to have to dip into the market in January if we can, even if it's to get something sorted for someone to come in the summer, because we do need a backup right wing back. It's the only area in the squad where we are, along with midfield, lacking real depth and quality in depth as well. I know people saying, if someone comes in, they're like for Reece James, they're not going to play any games. They are going to play games. Reece gets injured, he does, and with the sheer amount of games that we play, there's going to be opportunity for minutes. So yeah, we desperately need to sign someone in the right back area as a rotational option, because every time this happens, we're kind of scratching our heads and we're slightly in the shit. But yeah, this was not good news to see today, particularly given the fact that the initial early signs were that it wasn't too bad. So this for sure is a big setback for the Blues. And talking of setbacks, another one to add to the list, N'Golo Kante. We knew he was back in training and he was picking up his rehabilitation. He was getting pretty close to returning. Obviously, having been out since the Tottenham game, second game of the season, he's missed a lot of games. Suffered a setback in training, and it's not just a setback; it's a major setback. With David Ornstein reporting today that N'Golo Kante he's going to miss the World Cup. He's expected to be out for 3 months with a hamstring injury that he's picked up in training. Chelsea have declined to comment yet. They're obviously waiting for the midfielder to see a specialist. His contract expires in the summer. This, for me, further consolidates that unless Kante wants to accept Chelsea's 1+1 deal, that could well be offered, then he needs to leave. We cannot. There's no way is he going to get at his age a 4-year contract, a 3+1. He can't even stay fit for 3 games. So there's no way we're going to sign him on a 4-year deal on terms that he wants. I mean, it is quite sad to see with Kante, because he's been so good for us. He's been a phenomenal footballer, and it just seems now that, you know, his all action way of playing football, constantly getting around the pitch, is kind of coming to an end. Is kind of catching up with his body. He's picking up a lot of injuries, and people say, oh, you know, Kante's so good. Yeah, he is, but there's no point being amazing if you can't stay fit and you can't do it on the football pitch, because at the end of the day, you've got to part of being a footballer is keeping yourself fit and making yourself available. And Kante is just not available anywhere near enough at the moment. I mean, people say he's a key player, but you know, how can you be a key player when you're missing 40% of the games? I think it's come to the point now for me where it's more than likely looking at, and L'Equipe, the French publication, reporting that Chelsea are going to let N'Golo Kante go on a free in the summer. I suspect that's the way it's heading. He probably wants a bit of a longer contract than Chelsea are prepared to offer him, and rightly so, given his injuries and whatnot. And I can understand from Kante's perspective, at 31, it could be the last big contract he signs of his career. And he wants to make sure that, you know, he's in the right place to do it. And Chelsea perhaps would be the right place for him. But if he can accept a rotational squad role on a 1-year contract with an option for a second year based on hitting a certain number of appearances, because that's the stage it's got to now. For me, it's not even about Kante being out for 3 months. It's about him missing out on what could be his last World Cup. Yeah, 31, 4 years time, 35. Yeah, it's tricky. But you know, Kante wants to prolong his playing career. I think he's going to have to retire from international football. That would be a big help. But it is sad to see sort of the decline of Kante. The fact he's picking up so many injuries. The fact he's spending a large amount of time on the treatment table. Given how good he's been and how much he's done for Chelsea, this again is a setback. But at the same time, I've kind of forgotten he's even a Chelsea player at the moment, because he's missed so many games, and we seem to be getting on all right without him. You know, yes, in the big games he obviously makes a massive difference, but you know, let's see what happens. We are getting by with, you know, the likes of Jorginho, Kovacic, Loftus-Cheek re-emerging as a real good option in the middle of the park. Played really well there in the last few games. But yeah, it is a shame, you know, and it is sad to see, because this is a top professional, a top guy, and his body's just letting him down at the moment. But the reality of the situation is that we can't keep someone who just isn't available for such a large percentage of the games. And you know, Chelsea are looking to bring in 2 midfield players in the next couple of windows, whether that's in January, whether that's next summer. And football's fickle, you know, sports fickle. If we get like the likes of Jude Bellingham or Alvarez or Caicedo or Declan Rice or whatever, people will soon forget about Kante, and that's not to say that he should be forgotten about. That's just the way it goes. Football moves on, and people soon forget about these things. But yeah, for me, it's a real shame to see. But there's no sentiment in football. And if Chelsea offered Kante a new contract, it would be purely out of sentimentality, and that's never a good way to conduct business, in my opinion. So, yeah, Kante out for 3 months, missing the World Cup, missing the next 9 games for Chelsea, and yeah, hopefully he can sort his fitness issues out so that maybe he can feature again at some point in this season. But this is a big problem. It's a continued issue. And we'll have to see what happens. But we are massively light in the midfield, and we're massively light in obviously those backup positions at right wing back. No, we'll obviously look at. I don't think we're not going to sign an injury prone player. Well, I mean, it depends. You know, if you've got a track record of injuries, we probably stay away. But you know, players can suddenly become injured. I don't know if it's something to do with the methods of training at Chelsea, with the way the medical staff do things, or the way we're doing things in the gym. I'm not really sure what it is, but to have that sort of a setback from a hamstring injury, to then be out for a further 3 months, that's quite some setback, and that is a real problem. I mean, and you know, as I say, when it rains, it pours. We had obviously Mason Mount missed training today, and then not so long ago, Simon Johnson reporting in The Athletic, and subsequently been confirmed elsewhere, I believe, that Mason Mount is going to have a scan on a thigh injury after missing training today. Just a precaution at this stage. Now, at this stage is the ominous thing. Maybe that's the reason why he was subbed off against Milan at half time. That perhaps makes a little bit more sense now. I mean, I don't think we would have subbed him just for a rest at half time after 45 minutes. There was clearly maybe some sort of issue, or they were just being really ultra precautious. Again, I mean, sick of hearing about scans, because scans not been good for Reece James, scans not been good for Kante. We just got to hope that this is just very much a precaution and just erring on the side of caution, because if Mount was to be missing for a period of time, for the next, say, for 3-4 weeks with a thigh problem, then we are starting to be in trouble and starting to getting down to the bare bones. Big up Texas, what we saying, bro? If any other top 6 team had their 3 best players out with injury, you wouldn't hear the end of it. But since it's Chelsea, not a Pete. Yeah, no, it's true, mate, and it's the same. And it was the same with the COVID stuff. Teams were getting games postponed for 1-2 cases. We had, I remember we went up to Wolves. I went to that game at Molineux last season, possibly. Yeah, last season, I think. And we had about 7 or 8 COVID cases, and the game didn't get called off. We had 2 keepers on the bench. So yeah, it seems to be different standards and different rules when it comes to Chelsea. But this Mount news, it's concerning because of the wording, precaution at this stage, which suggests that that obviously there is a chance that it could be worse. Hopefully he is fit to play on Sunday. He's been in really good form in the last 3 games. He's really stepped it up. He was outstanding in the San Siro on Tuesday night, and he seems to be back to his best at the moment. And an injury for him would be a big setback as well. Wouldn't just be for him, but for England possibly as well, with obviously the World Cup on the horizon. And it's just not been a good day for Chelsea on this injury front, because as I said, Fofana out until after the World Cup. Reece James supposedly out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Kante to miss 3 months. Kante and James are seeing specialists this weekend. Then I'm sure we'll get some official line from the club on it, but it's very widely reported that Kante's out for 3 months and James is probably going to miss the next 6 to 8 weeks. So I think either way, they're going to miss the next 9 games, all the games up until the World Cup. Now, that's still a lot of football matches, and that's going to be Chelsea going to have to find a different solution, whether that's maybe promoting Dion Rankin from the academy side, possibly to get some minutes. We might see Chukwuemeka get a few more minutes in the middle of the park, even though I feel he probably operates a little bit better further up the pitch. I can't believe they seriously let footballers play games every 3 days. No, this is a wider issue in terms of player welfare. I think the Premier League probably do one of the worst jobs of looking after in terms of caring about player welfare. The fixtures just crammed in. The Winter World Cup's not helping. Normally at this stage of the season, you would not be playing every 3 days in October. It's pretty much Champions League every week. And yeah, there's a conversation to be had, but the more popular football gets, the more money that's going to be in the game, the more fixtures that are going to be played, and the more demands that are going to be placed on the players. And I do think playing every 3 days at the moment is ridiculous. It's going to take a toll. Teams are going to pick injuries up, and there are going to be problems. But hopefully with this Mason Mount one, but he's back in really good form. Hopefully it's not going to be too serious, and it's very much just a precaution, and he should be fit to play against Villa, because as I said, he's banging form again, and he's one of our most important players. So it'll be a huge blow if he were to be unavailable alongside Reece James as well. So let's hope for the best for Mount. There'll obviously be news on that tomorrow once he's been for that scan. But yeah, the way things have been going with Fofana, James, and now the setback for Kante, it'll be just our luck if Mount's got a bit of a problem as well. But let's hope for the best and see what happens. But yeah, that seems to be a good stage to sort of round out that injury news. It is concerning for Chelsea. But let's move ahead to the game against Villa on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be heading up to Villa Park myself to cheer the boys on. I'm looking forward to that one. A great ground to visit. Not visited it before, so looking forward to getting that one ticked off the list. And as I said at the top of the show, Chelsea in good form under Graham Potter. One draw and 4 wins from the 5 games in charge. 3 clean sheets on the spin. We're scoring quite a few goals now. The attack looks like it's functioning a little bit better. We're keeping clean sheets again. And things seem to be on the way up. I'm fully aware that, part of that could be attributed to a new manager bounce. But I think the players have been really receptive of Potter's ideas. Potter himself has been saying, about his first few weeks in charge, how he's really enjoyed them. Let me just bring this quote up here. Yeah, Graham Potter on Chelsea, managing Chelsea first few weeks. Really good. Players open, honest, responsible, ambitious, determined, want to do well. So far, so good. Yeah. Let's have a look at this. Yes, Nicole. Big this season injuries increased 20% in European football clubs compared to last season. Yep, that potentially doesn't surprise me. I did see there was a recent report. I think I read it on the BBC or something about how Chelsea had picked up the most injuries in the last however many months it was, with about 97 injuries or something in the last couple of seasons or something along those lines. It was on the BBC somewhere. But yeah, there's no surprise that the more games there are, the more demands placed on the players, the more injuries there are going to be. But back to Potter, he's made a really good start. Obviously, when winning breeds confidence, winning makes things easier. And I think we started really well. And the pleasing thing for me is that each game we've got better every time. So the Salzburg, we started with a draw. What didn't really have high expectations of that first game. Then we played Palace away. We did okay. Then we played Milan, where we were exceptional at the Bridge. Then we played Wolves at the Bridge, where we were better again. And then we were even better again in the San Siro. So yeah, things are improving. And I'm really liking how the attack's functioning as well. We're having a lot more possession in the final third. We're playing a lot more passes into the final third. Our decision making seems to be improving, and we seem to have a lot more options in the top end of the pitch compared to previously, where we get the ball in the final third, and there wouldn't really be anyone available to kind of play a pass to or try and put a cross into the box for. So I'm pleased to see Potter making some subtle changes defensively. We seem to be doing much better as well. So this only bodes well. And if we're going to have aspirations of finishing in the top four, which still could be tricky and is going to be the main priority this season, then for me, we're picking up points. We're building up a head of steam, and these are the sort of games that you have to win, because let's be honest, I'm not saying we're going to come second, but second place is very much up for grabs at the moment. City are clear; they're going to win the league, but between ourselves, Liverpool, United, Spurs, Arsenal, no one's really grabbing it by the scruff of the neck for that second place. I know Arsenal are doing very well at the moment, and they are top of the league, but by a point. But we're under no illusions. Arsenal are not going to win the league this season. That's obvious. That second place is very much up for grabs. So if we can put a run together like we are, then there's no reason why we can't try and finish runners up in the league. And I know that sounds perhaps slightly over ambitious, but there's every chance. I know the injuries aren't going to help, but there's no standout team other than Manchester City this season. So you just never know. But these are the sort of games that you've got to pick up the points in. Gerrard's really struggling at Villa. It'd be great to sort of put the final nail in his coffin and see him be sacked after this game if we can get the 3 points. This last season we won this game 2-1. It is a tricky place to go, but we've got more than enough quality to beat Aston Villa. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, these are the sort of games that you have to be winning as Chelsea Football Club. And if you're going to have harbour aspirations of finishing in the top four, finishing as high at the table as you can, then with the greatest respect possible to Villa, these are the sort of games that we have to be winning. We really need to be getting sort of 9 points from our next 3. We've got Villa Sunday, move on to Brentford on Wednesday night, and then obviously the big one against United next weekend. But yeah, I think I'm not sure how much rotation there, but obviously there'll be the enforced changes. Reece James won't be able to play, but the fact that we played Tuesday night and we're not playing until Sunday, we've had plenty of time to recover. So I would expect the strongest team possible to be put out on Sunday, with perhaps changes to be made heading into the Brentford game on Wednesday instead. But I feel confident. I think this game obviously be won and lost in the midfield battle, and in terms of can we create enough chances and are we going to be clinical enough? And with the Aubameyang at the top end of the pitch, something we've been missing for such a long time, an experienced striker that just is so lethal around the box. There's every chance that if we just create a couple of opportunities, he will put them away like he has been doing. He's had one chance in the last 3 games, and he's got 3 goals. So yeah, that's obviously a massive plus. Sterling is looking good. Mount's coming back into his own. Gallagher's doing well. Even Pulisic, when he started against Wolves, was good also. So yeah, we are picking things up. I think Potter's doing an outstanding job. But don't get me wrong, we are going to lose at some point under Graham Potter, and we might lose 2-3 games on the spin, and things won't be great for a period of time. But it's just about sticking with it and just winning as a group, losing as a group. That's what happens. And I do feel confident going into this game. I don't see any reason why we can't win this. Yes, Reece James is going to be a massive loss for us, and it's going to limit us going forward. One of our main attacking assets is gone, but I think we can get by in this game. I really do, and I do expect us to keep the momentum going and make it 5 wins in a row in all competitions. I mean, let's get the team up then. Let's bring the team up, guys. By the way, please do smash the likes on the stream and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm just going to bring the team up now. It really helps me out, so please do that, and please do get involved in the chat as well, like you have been for the team selection. Let me know your thoughts if you agree or disagree with me. I've gone with a back 5 for this lineup for Sunday. There's a possibility we could go to a 4. I think if he goes with a 4, he'll play Aspilicueta at right back at a flat 4. But I personally wouldn't do that. I would stick with the 3. Just because I still think we've got the personnel that we can do it with, and I think that's the system that we are best in. Agreed, Aston Villa have been awful this season; they really have. But it'd be typical for them to just turn up and put in their best performance of the season against us. But let's hope that's not the case. We have got a fairly decent record at Villa Park. I know we lost there on the last day of the season a couple seasons ago, but in general, we've got a pretty good record there. Starting in goal, for me, it's obvious now. It's Kepa. He's done nothing. He's done nothing to warrant being dropped, and at the moment, he's made the number one jersey his own. I mean, you could argue that he was fortunate to start the first 2 games under Potter because obviously Mendy was injured and unavailable, but he's done really well. And the subsequent 3-4 games that have been played, Potter's gone with him over Mendy. And Kepa's not let him down. He's obviously, his distribution's good. He's much better with his feet, and he's done really well in all those games. So he should continue. And at the moment, he is the number one choice keeper, and it's something that I don't think any Chelsea fans were expecting to be saying heading into this season, that Kepa would suddenly be the number 1 keeper at the moment. But I'm delighted for him. Let's not forget, he's still a very good goalkeeper. I mean, we paid a world record fee for him, and I'm glad to see that his hard work, his patience, his perseverance is paying off, and he fully deserves to keep the gloves. 3 clean sheets on the spin. Let's hope we can make it 4. But Kepa at the moment is the undoubted number 1 for the club. Simple as that. Moving into my back 3 now. Going to continue with Trevor Chalobah at right centre back. I think he again, another player that can count himself unlucky at the start of the season. Had a really good season last season. Didn't have a great pre-season. Wasn't in the team at all. Played 1 game against Leicester, and because Koulibaly was suspended. And now, it just goes to show in luck and in sport and in life in general, you need a bit of luck to get a break. And whilst you're not wishing your teammates to get injured, Chalobah, by Fofana getting injured, this is Chalobah's opportunity, and he stepped in. And the last few games, he's been superb. He was great against AC Milan, I thought, again on Tuesday night, and yeah, he's been really good in the 3 games he's played since Fofana's picked up his injury. And again, in every game that Chalobah started for Chelsea, he's not been injured. So Chelsea haven't lost. So let's hope that continues. But yeah, Chalobah turning into a really good top young defender, and he fully deserves for me to keep his place in the side. And rounding out that 3, obviously going to go with Thiago Silva in the middle. An absolute warrior. Again, just run out of words to describe him, but he's so important to that back line. So I'll go Chalobah, Silva, and I'll go with Koulibaly as well, who again seems to be settling into Chelsea a bit now. He struggled a little bit first few games to settle into the pace, adjust from Serie A, but he's now really coming into his own. So for me, it has to continue. There are a couple of other options which Potter may go with. Obviously, this is my team that I go with, but from a Graham Potter perspective, there is a chance that he could go with Aspie at right centre back and maybe rest Chalobah. He could go with Cucurella at left centre back, shift Koulibaly over to the right, or rest Koulibaly. But for me, I'm going to go with that, which means that a right wing back, we're going to have to get Loftus-Cheek there. So Loftus-Cheek to fill in at right wing back. There is also a train of thought that possibly, for me, there could be a chance that we've seen it in the first game, and we've seen what Potter did with Trossard at Brighton is that we could have like we saw in the first game against Salzburg. There could be a situation where he plays these much higher up the pitch, like here and here, like when he had Sterling and obviously Reece James against Salzburg higher up the pitch. There's a possible trail of thought that you could play Christian Pulisic as in the right wing back role, much higher up the pitch, like Potter did in his first game with Sterling and James. That's an outside idea, but it's an idea that could be a possibility. But for me, to stick with the five, the most obvious choice is Loftus-Cheek, and he's done it before. He can do it to a good level, and he's done it on the big stage in the Bernabeu where he's outstanding. So I think for this game, I think this is the way to go at the moment. Loftus-Cheek has been brilliant this season in central midfield, and he can step into that right wing back hybrid role. He can kind of step in and become a third man in midfield if necessary. So yeah, I think it makes sense to go with Loftus-Cheek on this side. And then on the other side, I think Chilwell started in the San Siro. For me personally, I didn't think he was that great. And the fact that they've got options here, we've got games coming thick and fast, I would go with Cucurella for this game. Obviously, he didn't start. He didn't start the last game in the San Siro, and I thought he was good against Wolves when he played. So for me, Chilwell still getting back to full fitness, getting back to his best after that injury. So and whilst we've got Cucurella, we've got two great options there. I would personally go with Cucurella on this left-hand side, which means in the midfield with Loftus-Cheek at right wing back, then we're going to have to go Kovacic and Jorginho. I don't think there'll be any surprises. I don't think we'll see Gallagher in a pivot. I don't think we'll see Chukwuemeka start get a surprising start. I don't think that will happen. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Kovacic and Jorginho are going to be the only two that are available in midfield. No Kante, and then obviously Loftus-Cheek is going to be shifted to right wing back. Let me get here. Koulibaly's been good, but what is it with him fouling somewhat? Yeah, he does like to give away a few early fouls. When we play Arsenal, for me, we should put Cucurella on the right, Chilwell on the left. Yeah, that's a possibility. I was always saying Chalobah is better than Koundé and Fofana. I mean, I don't think Chalobah is better than Fofana, but Chalobah is a very good defender, for sure. And yeah, it's great to see him getting run in the team now. He's going to be a very important member of the squad. So yeah, at the moment we've got Loftus-Cheek, right wing back, Jorginho, Kovacic, and Cucurella. Moving to this front three now. We don't know if Mason Mount's going to be fit or not. Let's presume he's not. Let's presume he's not. In that case, I would go with Conor Gallagher in this position. I think Gallagher's done really well this season so far. He's the fact now that he's Potter's come in. It's the best thing for Gallagher that Graham Potter came in. I think he's going to really push on now, and the fact that he's getting played higher at the pitch on the Tuchel, he was hung out to dry a little bit in that two-man pivot in the midfield. Not the best, not suited to his game at all. But as soon as he's moved higher at the pitch, he's looked much better. He got that worldie winner against Palace. He was really good against Wolves, man of the match performance, and I felt he did a pretty solid job when he came on second half in the San Siro for Mason Mount. And that's again is a big sort of vote of confidence in him from the manager, because he could have put on Pulisic, he could have put on Kai Havertz, and he chose to go with Conor Gallagher. And I think if Mount's not fit or he's not risked for Sunday, then for me Gallagher is the obvious choice to come in, and I can't wait to see him play again. I think he's got a really exciting future at Chelsea, and he does offer a lot. He just brings so much energy, which again is really important, that off the ball work as well as what he does on the ball. So for me, if Mount's not fit, I'll stick Gallagher there. I'm going to presume he's not, so I'm just going to stick Gallagher there. If not, Mount obviously would start. I think Sterling will start again. Yes, I know he didn't have a particularly great game in Milan, but he's still pretty much our most important attacking player, or our most in-form attacking player. In terms of what he's contributed so far this season. We have been heavily reliant upon him. Now that Mount's come back into form the last 3 games, that's made it a bit easier. Aubameyang scoring goals. slightly takes the burden off him. I know Sterling's not been great for the last couple of games, but he's still a top player, and I think it's going to take a few more games of him not performing well for his position and for his place in the side to be questioned. He will obviously be rotated, be rested. Again, Akeem, I do agree with this. Pulisic, there's a chance Pulisic could start, but I'd say it's more likely Pulisic would play against Brentford. I think just because of the recovery time we've had from Milan to this game, whereas for the Brentford game, we get 2 days. So I would more expect him to come in for that Brentford game. But Sterling, I think it'd be Sterling on the left, and then obviously Aubameyang up top. I don't expect Kai Havertz to start this game, but again, I could be wrong. Havertz could come in for Mount if that was the case, but I personally wouldn't do that. Aubameyang's banging form, 3 goals in his last 3 games, clinical finishing as well. In those games, he's really only had one opportunity, and he stuck it away, and he's done really well with it when presented with the opportunities, and that's all we want from him. Just be in the box, be alert, and when the ball makes its way to you, stick it away, and that's exactly what he's done. Cannot fault his level of performance so far. He's been really good. Yes, okay, you might want a bit more from his all-round game, but ultimately, I don't care about his all-round game. I don't care how many touches he has, as long as the touches he has, he puts the ball in the net. That's the most important thing. He's there to score goals. We've been lacking a goal scorer for so long. Like, it sounds so basic, but because we've not had it, if it's such a treat to actually have someone that can actually put the ball in the net and it's clinical. And if you create a chance for Aubameyang, he is probably going to put it away. And we've just not had that. We just haven't had that for so long. So look, hopefully it can continue. And Aubameyang, since he was freed from the shackles of that mask, it seems to be going really well for him, and he thoroughly deserves to start. Again, I'd like to see Broja get some minutes in this game. I was a bit disappointed that he didn't get any minutes in the San Siro against Milan. I felt that would have been really good for his development and been a really good experience for him. But obviously, Potter went with Havertz instead. Can't criticise any decisions that the manager's making at the moment because they're all working. But yeah, would expect Aubameyang to continue. And the fact that a Chelsea number 9 has scored for 3 games in a row is really quite something. I'm not sure I can remember the last time that happened. So hopefully Aubameyang is breaking that number 9 curse, but he's doing exactly what he was brought in to do. Being in the right place at the right time and just applying the clinical finishing that we've been missing to the chances we create. Yes, we don't create the most chances, but at the moment, look, Aubameyang really only needs 1 chance and he's sticking it away. So hopefully that can continue. Reece James is injury prone. You can be ignorant. Look, I was saying this at the top of the show, Robin. You might have missed it. About whether it's too early to have a conversation about is Reece James injury prone. I know he missed large parts of last season. We rushed him back, so we're so dependent on him. And obviously, he suffered a setback. He suffered another injury here. It's not great. But I think it's a little bit early to say he's injury prone. Yes, he's picked up a couple of injuries in the last 2 seasons so far, and that's not great. It perhaps could be the start of an alarming trend. Hopefully, it's not. But I think it's a bit early to say he's injury prone. But a trend is starting to occur, which doesn't make for good reading. I would agree on that. No, I don't think. No, Chelsea won't sign a new striker in January. Very much the priority will be midfield and a backup right wing back. I would be very surprised if a new striker was coming, particularly given the fact that Nkunku is going to arrive next summer. So there won't be any. I don't think there'll be any attacking incomings in January. It'll just be a midfield player if the right one's available, and maybe a backup right back. But there'll be money to spend and there'll be business to be done if the right quality of player is available. That's for certain. By the way, guys, keep smashing the likes on this stream and please do keep subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you're tuned in now and you're not subscribed, please do click that subscribe button. I'm on the road to 2K subscribers, so please help me get there. Every subscriber helps. So if you're tuned in now and you're not subscribed, you know exactly what to do. This, for me, I think this is the team that I'd go with for Sunday. I think this is probably our best team available at the moment. I'm obviously Cucurella and Chilwell is a bit of a toss-up, really. I've purely put Gallagher in because I'm just going off the proviso that Mount's not going to be fit because of after going for his scan on a thigh injury. So hopefully that doesn't turn out to be too bad. I think that's our best lineup available. with all the respect in the world, I really hope he doesn't go for Aspilicueta. If he does go for Aspilicueta, it needs to be playing in the back three, not as a wing back, because he hasn't got the legs and he is finished there. But I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a good one. Villa Park always a great atmosphere, tough place to go. But as I say, we've got to keep this momentum going. Build up a head of steam, because the games are coming thick and fast. Brentford and United to come next week after the Villa game. So yeah, let's hope that Potter can kind of keep things going. But I think, yeah, this is what I'd go with. Yes, I wouldn't totally surprise me if Pulisic started, but I would probably still stick with Sterling, and I'd probably start Pulisic against Brentford. But let's see. Let's see what Potter can do. It's certainly going to be interesting, and let's see how he reacts to the injuries, how we cope with the injuries, and let's hope we get really good news on Mason Mount from this scan tomorrow. But yeah, guys, seems like a good point to round out the stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for getting involved in the chat with your comments. I really appreciate it, especially when I'm doing it on my own. It makes it a lot easier to bounce off you guys' comments in the chat. So thank you for getting involved in the chat. I think score prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Chelsea win. And I think goals to come from Raheem Sterling and Aubameyang. That is my prediction. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for getting involved in the chat. On your way out, please do smash the likes on the stream. Please do subscribe to the channel. And I will catch you again on Sunday with a match day vlog from Aston Villa and a match reaction and player rating stream when I get back from the game. So until then, guys, take care, up the Chelsea, and enjoy your weekend.